All right, so we're gonna be talking about golden poses and doing golden poses today in the breakdown. So I'm sure you guys know about golden poses already, but just everything in the course, you can never really learn enough about the fundamentals. And that's what I was actually working on today was just I got some drawovers from I don't know if you guys know Malcolm Pierce, but he's a really amazing animator, and he's working for us, and just he's kind of like an artistic director at the studio as his current role, but sometimes he just does drawovers for us, and he uh gave me some drawovers for my shot of just how to push uh the kind of key poses of the shot and just make the ideas kind of read. And anyways, we'll talk about it, but it's just something you could always kind of improve at for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to show this. The actual point, the actual comic itself doesn't matter, but kind of a way I like to think about golden poses is kind of like your shot as a comic book. Um, and can your shot read, without movement, but just taking individual frames, key frames, and actually not keyframes, but key space frames, the important frames. Uh, can your ideas read? And are you doing everything you can for your static poses uh, to get those ideas across? So yeah, so basically your golden poses are the comic book panels of your shot. So what that means is obviously comics, 2D drawn comics, they're super appealing. They have an aesthetic to them. And so first of all, you just want to have a nice appeal. They're super clear because they can't rely on movement. Uh, they're doing everything they can to show a million things with one, drawing. Um, and just trying to make the idea, read as clearly as possible. And then, yeah, just obviously, we work in movies, so we have audio and things can be explained, but the more you can story tell visually, the better. So having your shot work on mute, having it work with just held frames on key poses, you just want to push the visual storytelling as much as you can. So the first frame, all of this kind of it's important for all your golden poses, but especially the first frame, starting with your first frame. Uh, if you just pause on your first frame, you should be 200% clear on who your character is. So what's their personality? Who are they? Um, if I'm sitting in this chair and even just my posture of if I'm sitting like this, or if I have a prop, but if I'm sitting like this with my notebook and like a pencil, someone very attentive versus if I, turn on my webcam to class and I'm like this, it's two, very different characters, just already just one frame, you can get a sense of who the character is, um, what situation they're in. Uh, so obviously if I'm sitting in a chair, it's obvious I'm sitting in a chair, but just getting the situation clear. And then probably most importantly is how they feel about the situation they're in. So kind of just with the sitting in the chair, but I kind of allude to that where if I'm upright and I'm ready to go, I'm obviously excited about the situation I'm in. I'm excited to take notes or whatever, versus this leaning back, I'm obviously not um, too excited. And that also especially if you have multiple characters, you want how do those characters feel about each other? How do there's just so many things. And the more you can kind of push those ideas, the better. And a cool trick like this, you don't actually have to do this, but just this kind of concept is that like a really good movie you can um watch. Imagine like the shots were the length that they are, but they're just held pictures of just the first frame, you know? And like especially like Disney movies that are very like graphical. Um they're Disney just in general is kind of like they really push for that graphic um read. Not that other companies like don't, but um you know just like Pixar, this is just a side tangent, but like Pixar is a little more naturalistic. So Disney will like push unrealistically a pose to have like a 2D aesthetic. If someone if in a Pixar movie, if a character did that, it would actually probably feel like a little unnatural and out of place. So it's not that Pixar movies are worse, it's more just like a stylistic thing. Um, anyways, side tangent. But you know, if you just watch like a movie with the first frame held, you should kind of generally know like what's happening. And good movies, like they don't do this on purpose. They're not actually testing to see if that works, but just because they're constantly making good decisions about staging and posing and everything, that is just like how it works. So back to the comic book. So now if you take this like first frame concept and just spread it across the shot, like if you flip through your golden poses of your shot, you should have like a complete picture of your shot. There shouldn't be like a lot that's missing. Obviously, the texture of the animation and everything you do is going to make it more interesting and even clearer. But there shouldn't be like missing pieces, you know, it should be like very clear of what's happening. And it is really essential to do like everything you can. And if that means like even after you've ended, like going back to those like key poses, like just like push the face, like how can you make it more clear? How can I push this pose? Like just everything. And I'll get into examples because I know I'm just saying push it, make it better. So we'll go into examples of like successful you know, golden poses and stuff. But just kind of keep this in mind, like, you know, don't be constricted by the rig. Um, just like whatever you can, like if it had to be the most clear thing possible, like whether it's like scaling parts of the character, scaling parts of the set, like changing the camera, like just literally like whatever you can do to make those poses appealing and read and tell your story uh, is what you should try and do. I think that's it. We'll go into some examples, but does that all make sense? Cool. Uh, all right, so I have some examples here. I am gonna actually stop sharing for a second. Just gonna do the share sound, optimize for video. So I can't see your videos anymore, but if yeah, if there's anything, just unmute and say something. All right, so actually I'm gonna save this one for after. So let's start here. Uh yeah, I picked a bunch of like Disney stuff just because like they're kind of the one of the more graphic just comp studios. Yeah, so that's just why I picked so Moana's by an animator. You guys have sound? I don't hear
Yeah, we have some.
I don't hear it. Oh wait, no, this happened last week. 1 second. There we go. Do you guys hear that?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
It's a little loud. All right. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Yeah, I'll start from here. Yeah, Beatrice a really amazing animator. Shots are really cool. I'll just play the whole thing actually.
I thought it was a dream. Nope.
Yeah, I'll just stop there just to save time. Main two shots, fun to focus on. So I'll also like, look at some mechanic stuff too, since this is more mechanics focused. And this stuff like still applies to like a mechanic shot, Like I said in the last class, like a mechanic shot isn't like focused on mechanics. It's still focused on the storytelling, and there's just mechanics involved in it. So in this shot here, like for something like this action, like this is, if you think about like the point in the story, this is when like it's like the training montage and like Maui's like I don't remember like the exact point in the story, but pretty much like Maui's like got his hook back, he's got his powers back, he's like, feeling powerful. So the posing is gonna make him look strong, and then they also kind of want to make it feel like effortless. So, like a pose like this is like so awesome, right? It's accomplishing the action of like he has to break this rock, but I'm just gonna like no, I mark. I guess I'll just mark with like if we just look at like these are the two frames, it's like huge anticipation, and then like swing through and like very graceful and like kind of effortless floating through the air. So this like really kind of accomplishes the idea of the shot. And it's also here like he's using two hands, but it's almost like he's just having fun, with the big smile and like the way he's floating through the air. It's not like two hands of like he really had to use a lot of effort and like he's like hunched over and stuff. Like this is very clearly like, powerful, fun, uh, etc. And then same thing, like Moana's super excited. We're like really sticking this arm up, um, and expanding the face, like really getting that idea clear. And then I mean this shot's really awesome, but just one thing I wanted to point out is like there's a lot of motion blur, but like this is kind of like the main pose for this shot, and it's super awesome. Like we're really like kind of foreshortening this stuff that's not important, and we're really like just the head and the hands are bigger than the entire shot or the entire rest of the character, and like the eye weights are like so expanded, the mouth is like huge. So this like anger of like I'm gonna get you, like I'm so pissed, that's like this is just a super clear pose. Um, yeah, it's really awesome. Really gets like the idea across. Again, like this is the mechanics of this shot. I mean, there's a ton of mechanics here, but like the shot isn't Moana jumping off a cliff. It's Moana trying to strangle Maui. Like that's what's important about this shot. Uh, this is same animator, Vitor, Zootopia stuff.
And death. I don't want to cause.
So like that shot is like super awesome, especially here, like super pushed, like a nice aesthetic in the mouth. Like it's like kind of 2D, like cut out, but super pushed and big. The eyes like big. We have like you know, like the stiffness of like this, and um then kind of like comes down to something more neutral. And then this is awesome, like a sneer and like really like bringing the eyes up. Like even like the toes are like curled up. Like every pixel of the body is like thought out and designed. You know, this knee's like breaking the silhouette coming over here to give like a twisting and like uncomfortable feeling. There's like some sharp angles in here. You know, like a squint. And yeah, this like kind of like sneer overall the side. So like every little aspect of the character is really contributing to this pose. Um, same thing here. Like this is like this droopy feeling, like that even the design of the eyelids, it's like droopy. And then like everything's just feeling like the gravity's like pulling it down. Um, yeah, really awesome. Um, Even just pausing on this frame, like the the comic book, you know, aspect. Now we have two characters. Like this guy's looking like this guy clearly got caught. It's just very like, you know, obvious. And it's also like a lot of the, I mean, we're only going to be dealing with one character for this, but like especially with two characters, you know, showing the audience where to look. Like if this ear was like coming out here, like, and then this hand was like on his hip, and then this trunk was like coming out here, like this could easily get super complicated. And same with here, like if he had an arm out and then this arm was out, like we could easily, the shot could get like very visually like cluttered, but it's very well designed where this is just a single line coming up. We even hide this ear, like it's showing it's there, but it's pretty much like hidden. And this ear just kind of like in the silhouette. We kind of tuck the trunk a little bit behind this belly. So, you know, the main like visual dynamic aspect is like this area, which is like looking over here. You know, this is like characters just very simplified. And same thing here, like we kind of hide this arm behind the stuff. It's all like one silhouette. This arm barely sticks out, but like not really. We're really like simplifying the shape. And then what's important is like this. Same thing with this ear, like it's sticking out, but it's actually just sticking out because it's going to continue the silhouette. If this ear was like also tucked in like this, then it would like come in and we could potentially be like a more complicated silhouette. So this is just kind of like, you know, simplifying the simple shape here. And it's really like the complex stuff is over here, which is where we want to look, you know. So that's just like an entire kind of design concept of like, you know, simple versus complex, like where to draw the eye. But like, you know, every little aspect of these poses was kind of designed to tell this story of like this guy looking and this guy being like, oh shit, you know. Uh the shot's really awesome. You know, so he could have just had him like leaned back, but he's like catching his breath, like leaned on the thing. This like comes up, like everything in his body is like pointing, is trying to get away, you know, from these characters. So, you know, even like bringing this leg up, like the shoulders up, every little aspect of the pose, you know, just telling that story. Same here, like a really cool, like everything is like leaning forward. Um, and again, like this is also like a pretty simplified shape here. And then all the complexity is like on this arm here, on this face, like everything. You wouldn't want to have like the ear out here and then like a shoulder. And then like this arm sticking out, and then this like if it would get too cluttered. So it's very like skillfully designed to be a simple shape here on the back. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, same thing here. Like this isn't this, we have the arm coming out. So in this case, it's not like a perfectly simple shape, but this is so pushed of like what's the idea of the shot? It's this big character like towering over this little character. He could have just had him like up here. Sorry, I'm using my mouse. So, but he could have just, it would have worked if this character was like up here, that would feel like menacing. But this idea was pushed of like, no, we're gonna have the character like really like lean over here and like get this arm out and get this arm out, and it feels like this little character has nowhere to go. So yeah. Um, oh, just wanted to show something in this real quick. In a shot like this,
What did you do that made Mr. Big so mad
like
at you?
it's literally just one pose, This pose told the story, and it told the story so well that that's just the only pose they needed. And you can actually see in his reference he tried to, kind of add more poses and stuff. A lot of looking around, but then in the end, like this pose is the whole shot. That's how good of a pose it is. They can just live in it for the entire shot. And there's like it's complex of like he has his hands together, like he's trying to be cool, he's trying to be polite, and he's sitting very proper, like the legs are like tucked in. Um, but then there's just this fear in their eyes, which is like, yeah, it just sells kind of the whole dynamic. Um, go over this real quick. This little sequence I wanted to show kind of not quite the first frame concept, but literally just 2 frames uh from every shot. Actually, I already did it on the side here, but I'll play the shot first. So this is this little sequence. So there's a lot of like, if you think about the shot, it's a lot of like, there's a lot of like complex movement, complex dancing. It feels like there's a lot going on. But if you break it down, over here, um, so I just kind of marked like 2 poses for every shot. So it starts here, it's like Wanda dancing, she's a little uneasy, but like pretty chill. Look clear, like look over. And that's kind of the only thing moving in the shot, so you really like notice it. We have 3 dancers and an empty space. I just picked like 1 frame, but the point is he comes in dancing, like that's all that really matters. He's looking at her, does that, and then Moana sees it, and then Moana's like, oh. So, this whole like thing, as much as it is complex, like if you look at it like a comic, this really is clear. There's not really, there's obviously way more comedy to actually watching it, but there's no more story in here than what's happening. The personalities of the characters and everything is like totally, clear, especially in this shot. Like it's really obvious how she feels, like bouncing between this. So yeah. Okay, I want to show this. Couple more things. I promise we'll start animating soon. Uh, I just want to show this for like character specific mechanics and like golden poses in mechanics. Uh, so this is just it's like some marketing thing for Big Hero 6. Really cool. But um like as much as there's all this crazy movement, there's a lot of held poses that are very character specific. In this case, there's not really like a story, but like very character specific. Um, so like you pause. I think like oh, this one's really obvious. Like the twist in here, the way like there's like 1 finger up. She pressed the button like very daintily. Same with this hand. Like every little aspect of the pose is kind of designed. There's like some cool like forceful, or like powerful stance, but also like twist and daintiness. And then, she's running, but then she jumps, she hits this pose, and we're in it for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like almost 8 frames, which is like a third of a second. So we're actually in here a lot, even though there's movement, we're like hitting poses. There's a couple other ones that are like have a lot of help poses. I think the Goku one's pretty good. I mean, you can see here too, like this is like really, character specific cool pose. So like even then running, there's like all this movement, and then we kind of hit this pose for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames there. And this, yeah, it's very like sleek. A lot of the body is hidden. Like this could have been like the head up here, and then this arm out, and then this arm out, and then like the curve at the back, and then this leg, and it could have been this like complex thing, but it's like very kind of elegantly and curvy. This is like the back arm's hidden, the chest is foreshortened, and so we get this like, yeah, like, simplified, sleek pose, which is, fits with the character. And that jump there, we're hitting this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 frames there. That whole slide through is like a held pose. Yeah, it's like this pose is like held like crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Not that you have to hold poses in action, but like just because we're moving doesn't mean we're not hitting poses and like, designing poses and making character specific things is kind of the gist of it. All right. Those are all great examples. Now we're gonna look at what not to do. So I pulled up some of my old animations. Um, this isn't like a me specific problem. I see it in like uh kind of like student animations, which most of you guys aren't students, but like, it's fine. The examples still apply. I just didn't want to like pull in some random student's work and start roasting it. So I'm fine with making fun of myself. Uh, so some of these are like before and after. This is like some of my student work. So to be honest, even in the afters, it's still like, can be improved. But um this was, yeah, I'll just play this. This is like my kind of first like golden poses pass of this shot.
Got a really good deal on my lease, paying like 12% interest. It's like one of the highest you can get.
So like the idea is kind of there,
Got a
but
really good deal on my lease, paying like
there's
12%
like
interest.
kind of a lot missing.
It's
So
like one of the highest you can get.
like just looking at this first frame, it's like, okay, he's happy, but other than that, it's pretty generic, He's talking to someone off screen, like we can kind of gather the situation. He has a car, but it's not immediately clear like who this character is, how he feels about. I mean, obviously he's happy, but we got to go for something a little deeper than happy. Um, so yeah, how does he feel about this? Um, yeah, just all those details. So I'll skip to my final version. And yeah, like basically in the final version, there's a bit more of like a casual kind of like lean and swagger. So it was, I'll just play the first
Got a
part.
really good deal on my lease.
Yeah, so like, in here, like this pose, this like arm drop, lean back, there's like a little more of a casual thing. But like this face pose, like if I was doing this again, like he's super pumped about his car. He thinks it's like the best thing ever. So it would probably be just more of like a closed mouth, like a like half lidded kind of like just for the face. It would be like low, he's not putting a lot of effort because he's kind of like, let me turn the thingy on. like just for the face quickly, it'd probably be something more like that, which is like I'm the shit, you like I'm the shit, and I know I'm the shit, even though he's not. And then extending to the head, like I would probably be more of like a like what's up, kind of like tilt back instead of like leaned in, uh, and like excited. It's more like, yeah, like I got the sickest deal over my lease. I kind of lean back. Um, and then that would kind of like extend to like the chest. I would probably push that kind of lean idea that I had in like the later parts of the animation earlier, like maybe like stick this leg out. So like every aspect, like, okay, the shoulders, like they're definitely going to be like dropped, kind of leaned back. So like this would kind of come out here. I'm not going to redraw the head, but like imagine it's like tilted back. And then like even like the way he's holding the cloth, like every little thing, how can that tell the story? So again, if it's more like cool, chill, like this guy thinks his car's amazing. Um, how's that gonna like even the way he holds the cloth would probably be like pretty casual. So like I don't know, probably like this elbow up is like kind of effortful. So maybe I would even just like drop it, drop this arm, and like do something like this where it's just like holding the rag, but like I don't know. And then yeah, maybe if this arm's like supporting it, it would just kind of be like that doesn't really work out. But I don't know. We could even do what I do later, which is just like drop this arm. But anyways, this is like super like rough, but already like we can get way more tilt, way more like attitude, um, compared to this, which is a little more generic. So same thing with this one. Honestly, I could just skip to the I'll just skip to the final one and we can just talk about that. Well, even like before I play it, looking at this, it's like, okay, he's a guy. I mean, his costume, it says like kind of military outfit. He's kind of leaned over, but it's a little default. And that's kind of like the trap that, not trap necessarily, but the problem with a lot of yeah, just I don't know, like less experienced like animators that just the the face is like they don't push the face. They kind of take what the rig gives them and just kind of keep it there. So really going, out of your way to do everything and just imagine like how would it be drawn? Like the first thing is like this eye is like totally obscured and the eyes are you see like one of the most important things. Um, so I would like, tilt the head so we're not obscuring the eye. But the story here is like I think if I remember, he just got some like bad news. So like if I'm it's definitely gonna be like a more wide-eyed, like shell-shocked thing. Um, but then, how is that character gonna take that news? Is he gonna try and hide it or, kind of try and like act a little tougher? Like Navy's gonna kind of cover his face with it, not to give away too much. So like, you know, maybe these hands should actually be like up here. And then we should definitely like really widen up the eyes, like shrink the pupil, like don't just because that's the default size of the character, like we need like a wider eye to like really like sell this. Um and then the brows would definitely, I mean his hair is covering it, but the brows would definitely be like bigger. So, like then these arms would be resting on his knees. Um, because his arms are resting on his knees. Like mine is like a rest, but then the shoulders are really drooped. But like if he's really resting, his shoulders are gonna be like pushed up. So I'd probably like the head's gonna come down a little more, and the shoulder's gonna be like, pushed up. Again, like really crappy drawing, but just like every little aspect. And then if he's really leaned down, then it's going to be like a bit of a wider stance and the legs like really planted. So these legs might be like wider, more supported. Um, and these legs are like pretty thin, so I would probably like scale them up my scene, kind of like my drawing. They're a bit thicker to really get that feeling of like support. Um, so I like scale things, you know, all the time just to get the image I want. But like this is already, you know, telling a more obvious story than like this is a little blank. That just a little blank, a little default versus like, you know, something like that. Not the best drawing. This one is actually more successful, like actually a good before and after. So this is the before. I'm not gonna play the whole animation, but this is kind of how it started out. And it's like a guy kind of like here, like leaning, kind of bummed out. Um, and it's like, how can we push that idea? Well, like really gonna want to lean. So his body weight should be leaning into that leg. Like right now he's pretty like square. So we're gonna push that lean. We want to push like the squish up of the face, like do that. Um, Probably like the main connection is like his eyes and this. So trying to make that of like more importance. Um, so like, yeah, in this case, we kind of like clumped this up and then brought this out in silhouette. Um, there's like a push up in the face. I think I would like, if I was redoing the shot, I would like push that even more, like really like squish this, like push this up, push the sneer up, like really get it feeling like he's just sunken in. Um, yeah, and then I'd probably like scale this hand up a bit as well. Like that this is like the important thing. Um, but yeah. And I think I also no, I didn't really. I was gonna say like I simplified this shape, but it was pretty much the same. I would maybe like simplify this a bit, you know, just to really like not worry about this side. Um, but yeah, there and now there's like there's a lean, you know, in the shoulders. So definitely more clear. Um, and yeah, it's pretty much all the things I wanted to show. It's a lot of talking. I'm gonna boot up Maya, but does that all clear? Any questions, any comments, concerns, etc.?
Would you say that if you want to have really good golden poses in general, it would be good to simplify it a lot? Like, like I don't know, you have like a complex pose and it don't read really well in the camera. Would you
Mhm.
like simplify the pose a lot and make it very clear, or just I don't know?
Yeah, I think like the goal is always to tell like the most you can in the simplest way, like the least amount of poses you need. And sometimes you need like 100 poses, and that's fine, but most shots don't need 100 poses, you know, like the Zootopia shot. Like he tried like this, but looking around and this and like oh this, but in the end it's just like needed that one pose. And so the less poses you can do, kind of the better. So in general, like simplifying, I would say is good. Like obviously you don't want to be too simple, but simplifying doesn't mean like default. Like
Mhm.
simplifying is actually very designed. Um the yeah, like the simplified version of the I just stopped sharing, but like the corn guy shot. Like to simplify the pose is not to just have like him sitting here and like this. It's actually to like arch like twist the body so that the back is like a simple shape and then like hide a lot in the silhouette and then basically focus all your attention to the face and then really like push that feeling like do a lot of work, but the simplicity of it is like you like the like hiding the legs and like just getting rid of every body part you don't really need and just really drawing your attention and focusing on like what matters.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think yeah, in general, like do try and simplify what you can. Like the it's a lot about drawing also the viewers like attention, like where do you want them to look? They can only look at one place at a time. So a lot of that is done through movement of, you generally only want to have one character moving at a time, mainly. That's like a very broad thing, and it's not like necessarily true, but just the idea of like you want, like, where do you want them to look, and that character should be, moving the most, like drawing their attention. So that's kind of the idea, and it's the same within like a single pose. Like they can't look at the whole character. So where do you want them to look? It's usually the eyes, usually the face, but not always. So through a combination of movement and design, we can get them to look where they need to look. So yeah, simplifying everything in the shot, always good, just to have the essence of like what it needs to tell.
Kind of the similar question, especially with like simplified like lines, especially like how you showed in the corn costume way. Like when we kind of do like the simple shape and the complex shape on the other side, I was always curious, like how much is like the simplified way is pushed, like like sometimes they really just have like one like singular line that connected, like it's like a round shape, but depending on the character design, like that's really unachievable sometimes, because you kind of like for the elephant from Zootopia, like there's the ear, so that you kind of try to hide it, but you still have that little bit of a intersection between the ear, the shoulder. And is it relative to make the simple shape less like I guess complex compared to the other side in that case? Like, so when people talk about like simple shapes.
Yeah, it's definitely like style dependent. I can pull up I have some stuff that I drew over from Spider-Verse, where like that was a really designed show. So you would force it like so that like from the neck to the butt, like no matter what the shoulders are doing, you get like one line. Contrast that with like, yeah, Disney is like still pretty designed, but at the end of the day, there's more anatomy, more like, physicality there. So there's certain things like, yeah, that if you like designed it so that it was one straight line on that elephant, that would just look wrong. Like it's too graphic for that world. And then again, contrast that with like Pixar, which is like more naturalistic. The in concept, they'll do like a simple versus complex side, but they're not gonna like deform the character like crazy. I mean, it depends on the movie. Like some like Inside Out is more cartoony, but they're general like human naturalistic characters. You can't go too crazy. So yeah, it's very like show dependent, and yeah, it's all like within the context. If one side just has to be simpler than the other, it doesn't have to be like the most simple possible. But you do want to kind of push it where you can. Yeah, but I'll pull up some Spider-Verse stuff. Let me just get this file open. Okay, so this is just like it's just the final shot, but I just did like drawings over it. So the default character, oh, I kind of tried to Photoshop it to show what it looked like. So like there's the Spider-Verse rigs are like 3D rigs, so they're round. They have to be round. You can't actually design them, sleek and streamlined and sharp, because then they would only work from one angle. And as soon as you turn it, it would just be destroyed. So the way it works is that they're regular round characters, and then per shot and per pose we have to like sculpt. So basically the character looks something like this. Like they have all the anatomy, and they'd be like very round. Like be like, okay, here's the shoulder, and here's the tricep, here's like the lower arm, like elbow, whatever. And then same thing would be like shoulder, pecs, like abs, belly, whatever, etc. So you basically have to go in and then tweak it and sculpt basically, and then you'd have to pick. So And this was a case of like, what is the fewest lines you can do? So in here, it's like this arm, like point to point here, like that's not, real anatomy, but that's like, I want this, and especially this side of the character, I wanted it to be like simpler. But yeah, basically like here, like this chest getting, you have like one point coming up for the chest, and then it just goes a straight line down, versus like here it was like chest, belly, abs, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. It was like, no, this just needs to be like one line down all the way to the leg until I had to like come out a bit. If I could though, I would have also done like a straight line like all the way down to the leg. And something like this is from the shot I showed last week. Like same thing, like the legs would be like curved, there'd be like a bunch of like bumps in the arms, they'd be all round. And then it was about like, here's a good example, like for literally from the hip to the hand, it's like smooth straight line. If you did this in Zootopia, it would look so weird. Like just a perfectly pixel perfect straight line. But because it's like a very graphic show, this is like kind of how you do it. So I didn't bother drawing them before and after. I just kind of showed the shaping here. Did I do it? No, I didn't do before and after. But yeah, this is like super, like this was like very round and bumpy, and now it's like do like very angular. This is just also just an angular movie in general. So sometimes like this isn't necessarily simpler, like it would be the same amount of plane changes, but before they were round. And so this was also the case of just making it angular, just part of the show design. But yeah, like a lot of simplification. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's just simplifying. All right, let's get into Maya finally. All right, so I kind of got a little scene set up, and I didn't find a bus that I liked, so I'm just gonna use this cube for now, but I'll probably switch that out later. I had to reset my Maya. Oh, let me get OBS running also, just for the recording. Okay. Yeah, it's going. Okay, so yeah, I had to reset my Maya. I fixed some of my settings, but I kind of wanted to just go through just my settings a little bit. And I have some of my hotkeys, but I might have lost some of them. So if anything comes up and I have like a certain hotkey I use, I'll like go through it or set it up. So the first thing I like to do is like make sure this is like unlocked so you can work it, and then I get rid of all this crap. So don't need that. Don't need that. I have a hotkey for the shelf. So I usually have the shelf because I don't really need it. And then I don't need this. This just tells you what you're hovering over. Very useless. And then I keep everything else. But like I want my workspace to be maximum size, see my shot the clearest. I hate working with like, there's what is the default? Oh shit. Oh my God, what have I done? Okay. Add this back. Like working in like this 4 view, like some people have like graph editor, perspective, camera, and then they have all the toolbars, and then you're like working and your character's like this tiny thing on your screen. Like I hate that. So I do use like split views, but I'm usually trying to like, get the most screen real estate possible. Yeah, I modeled this sick hat. Pretty cool. I didn't model his bench. And yeah, that's kind of just the default Maya setup. I have some like custom hotkeys. Well, actually a lot. My general philosophy is to move my hand around the keyboard as little as possible. So every hotkey that exists on the right side of the keyboard, I've moved over. So obviously starts with moving between keys is period and comma. So that I switched to shift. Like my Z and X are my period and comma. So shift Z and X does one frame at a time, and then Z and X just does like keyframes, which I don't have any right now. And then, yeah, pretty much everything is on the right side. I actually switched my play, or not here. Where is it? Key editor. I switched my, I'm gonna do hotkey Alt V, the play. I switched that to spacebar. Actually, wait, I need to find what the other thing's called. Yeah, so the hotbox I switched to shift space. And then playback, I switched to spacebar. Because I don't know why I've like all these years using Maya, I had it on Alt V, but then like I just heard someone mention like, yeah, you use like spacebar to play in every other app ever. So why would you not have it in Maya? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. So my play's on spacebar now, which is just a little more convenient than like Alt V, which is like weird. And then I just switched the hotbox thing to shift space. So I usually use that. I try and be like full screen in one view, but then if I need to, I'll like come out. And I'll also, my default view would actually be, it would be three panes split top. And well, I can't click, the zoom thing's covering it. There we go. And I need to make a camera. So let's do new version. So I'll have my camera in here, my perspective here, and then graph editor down here. If I'm blocking and I don't need the graph editor, I'll kind of just tuck it. And ideally I want to be in my camera view, working from my camera view the most. Oh yeah, and Maya does this stupid thing where like you have to, the graph editor like destroys itself when you like hide it. We shouldn't be using graph editor too much. Just because we're only going to be getting the shot into twos. So yeah, let's make the camera. I already made the camera. I'm gonna stage this pretty like 2D. Also hotkey like hide and show NURBS curves, just like clean up. So I'll keep my curves on the perspective. So yeah, I'm gonna frame this pretty. Let me just move the camera in the perspective view. So, and I'll just zero out the rotations. Yeah, so I'm gonna frame this pretty flat on. Do like a 7, no, maybe 50. I want to do film gate, resolution gate. And display options, set the overscan to 1, so it takes up the full viewport. Like this is again like I'm too far away from my shot. I want to take the most space, and then I just bring this to darker, just so I don't really see like what I don't want to see. I need to change these colors. I'll turn on anti-aliasing. Wait, this face looks weird. All right, about to change the clipping planes. Okay, let's set this to 1. Okay, that fixed it. All right, and then this bus needs to change colors, so I'll just assign Lambert. We'll make the bus go dark. Or now the bus can be light, and then the bench will be dark. I like using this ambient color, kind of flattens the asset out a bit instead of like these like harsh shadows. This makes it a bit flatter. So yeah, it's our bench. Maybe I'll scale that up a bit, but we can adjust that. So yeah, and then the bus is like, we'll keep it pretty like 2D. So the bus is gonna kind of come along here. Yeah, so I'll do that after. I don't want to spend too long like animating a cube bus thing. Mostly want to focus on the character. Cool. I'm gonna lock this for now so we can't accidentally move it. And lastly, just bring in my reference. So do free image plane. I like using free image planes rather than the like view import image plane thing. Like I like just having it as an object. And then let me just find this. Folder. All right, so I exported the ref from last week. So small in the frame. I guess I'll scale it up. Put it should behind like here. I put it as an image sequence and yeah. And then the drawings we did for it, I'm just gonna have like on the side. I'll just pull those up as a refresher, but I'm probably just gonna not have it in the scene. So we just well, we started kind of working on pushing this pose. Getting to kind of see like same principles of what I was thinking about, which is like every aspect, like this arm, if the feeling is like really like asleep, passed out, it was like drooping the head back, drooping this arm down, sticking this leg out, getting more flow. Those kind of like aspects of kind of similar stuff we were talking about. And then, oh yeah, like having like a pop-up realization, like just the head moving so that, it's very clear. And then it was like the hat, we did this like he's gonna like call for the bus. And then this arm thing, which I wasn't quite happy with. But I was thinking about that, so we'll have something for that. And then just like yeah, pushing the run. So pretty like straightforward. I'm gonna reference my ground plane so I can't select it. Same with the bench. Actually, no. I might want to resize the bench, so I'll leave it on for now. Okay, and then oh right, we gotta actually make this move. So use image sequence. Nice, and then let's see how long this is gonna be. All right. One more thing. Okay, two things. So a Maya setting, these handles, like I like to go under manipulators, scale them up, and then that part, the line size. No, line pick size. Which one is it? Oh no, yeah, it's just the handle size. And then for rotation, it's the line size. So I like to just put that to like 3, just so it's easier to like click. It's not this like thin little line. It's just something small. I swear you can make this line thicker. I don't know. It's only better. But yeah. Cool. I'll just save my preferences. Where is it? Save preferences. Okay. Second thing. So this was filmed at 30 frames a second. So it's slow right now. But usually I'll convert it, but I actually kept it on 30 frames on purpose because I kind of want to retime my reference, which is something I like to do. So I wanted to show that. It's kind of planning, so maybe I should have done it last week, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, so basically like again on the a philosophy of like doing as much as you can before touching the character. Like I want to figure out my timing, so the reference, the first thing I'll do is I'm gonna put it back to like put it to normal speed first so we can take a look at it. So what you do is you just break the connection for the image number. You set a key, and then you go to like later, and then you put the frame, like the same frame, so frame 200, I put 200, and then now we're actually gonna need the graph editor after I said I didn't need it. And then if you like click on this frame extension thing, you'll see every 2 frames, you're gonna set it to linear, not auto or whatever. I have a hotkey. Oh yeah, auto. You don't want to ease in and ease out because then it's gonna like play weird. It's gonna be like slow, and then your whole thing's gonna play really fast. And then it's gonna like slow down at the end. So you want it like linear. And then I'm just gonna pull it back a bit to slow it down. So there's no science. Or there is a science, but I'm not gonna do the science to convert it to 24 frames. So it's something like this. So this is about normal speed. That's maybe like a little bit faster. I'm gonna hide the character so we get real time. Actually, that's another thing. I usually like to have under display, heads up display, the frame rate, just so I know. Like I kind of feel like that wasn't full time. Oh, I guess it was. Well, I guess I'll just hide it anyways. Um, but yeah, I just want to know if I'm seeing my shot in real time. Uh, because sometimes you're playing it and you're seeing and you're like, that looks amazing. And then you play blast it and you're like, what the hell? Like that's so different. And then you realize it's because you had 12 frames per second in your scene. So uh you were animating on twos and it looked nicer. But yeah. So let's retime this. So what I'm thinking about when I'm retiming is obviously clarity. So usually I want to push the poses to be held a little longer and speed up the transitions. And then also just the overall timing of the shot. I kind of want it to be like interesting and clear. So the way I'll do it is I'll kind of go through and then I'll set a key here. So this is just like my held pose. We got this. Pose number 2. And I'll go to like before it starts moving. So I'll put the kind of like bookend on this pose. And so if I want to hold it, what I'll do is I'll extend it, which I have a hotkey for. I'll explain it in a second. Make sure this is linear. But now if I do that, I just held that pose, for longer. Before it was this. It was like a quick like hook up turn. But if I want to, I can just the other way to do it is just like this. But if you really wanted to hold that pose for some reason, you can start playing around with your shot. And that hotkey to push and pull frames is literally like a Maya default thing. Add frame. It's only a Mel script. Time slider, edit keys. I'll just put this, I'll put it in the Zoom chat. There's this, and then remove frame. It's the same thing. These are just Mel commands, not even Python. So yeah, if you guys want that, I use that a lot. It's just faster. You can just like add and remove frames really easily, so helps you like play with your timing. Like even on the character too, not just for reference. Okay. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going and set my bookends on these poses. When it gets to more complicated movements and not held poses, I'll probably just set like general keys here. So I might want to speed up like, I don't really want to mess with the mechanics too much. I think I might want to have like just here like this look. I'll just slow it down a little bit, like this look at the hat longer just to make that clear. And then maybe like this part. I'm gonna make longer. So I'm just setting some keys and then maybe this grab I'll make longer and then we'll speed it up. Okay, so I just set some keys. Set all these to linear and then I'm just gonna start like pushing and pulling. So looking at the shot. So for clarity and like contrast and a bunch of reasons, like it's probably good if is like first get up is like really slow and then it's like so it's like a slow realization and like oh like kind of like waking up slower and then like snapping into like oh my god that's my bus. So I'm actually gonna slow this first part down like I'll just add like 6 frames or something and then when he looks at his bus I want to I'm gonna set another key here. So what I want to do is I want to speed up this look. Right now it's like it's actually kind of fast, but I'm going to speed it up more. So I'll just take out like 3 frames here. Yeah, it might be too fast. Take out like a couple frames here, like super fast, and then I'm going to hold. I have like some keys here and here, which is just like kind of the held pose. I'm just going to push that, so it's like, so a quick turn, hold that clarity of like looking at the bus, like holding that pose. And then kind of like the getting up. I just want to extend this part a bit. This is going to be when the arm is like extended out, like calling for the bus. So I just want to keep that part clear. There's a bunch of scramble stuff in here. I want to extend like this eye contact with the hat. So maybe I'll just add like 2 frames there. But then this scramble, maybe I'll take off 2 frames. So this scrambling part, I'll like make faster. Hold there. Because to grab the hat, I'll add 2 frames to like the grab. Maybe I'll like take off a frame here. So basically like the before version was like kind of an even like scramble. And so I'm trying to add a bit of chaos of like basically like pause, pause. So that's kind of my thought process in here. So it's like slow down, fast, oh the hat, scramble, grab the hat, scramble off. So that's kind of like more interesting rhythm. And then I'm just going to speed this whole thing up again. So just take out a bunch of frames. Let's just see what that looks like. Cool. So it's a little more interesting. I think I messed with it a bit too much, especially if we're going to look into mechanics. So I'm going to tone it back a bit. Especially like this. Or here. I'm just kind of looking at the graph editor. I'm just kind of smoothing it out a bit. So it's not as like staggered. And then I'll just speed up the run at the end. Cool. So looking at that, now it's like a little pushed, but the mechanics are a little more grounded. Cool. So looking at this, there's kind of this rhythm of like, but, but. Sorry, and so when I'm doing like rhythm, I make like sounds. Um, and all I'm thinking about is just like, are the sounds interesting? So if I like made sounds to my shot and it was like bop, 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 like all the same part, same like frequency, then that's gonna be boring. But making like interesting sounds will be like an interesting shot. So this is like a bop, 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 and then like so there's this rhythm of like slow, fast, fast, scramble, 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 run off. Things are happening at like different like rhythms and like different speeds and textures and stuff. That's kind of like a more interesting shot. If I pull up this version, what we had before was like so it's like up, 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 up. Like it's just very like kind of on the beat and even. Uh so yeah, just kind of varying it up using sounds and making a fool of yourself. I've been going for a little bit. I can't see your cameras, but just note everything's clear. Any questions?
Good.
Cool.
All clean.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, okay, gotta do our golden poses. But yeah, I got the kind of scene set up. So I'm gonna hit save on this. Cool, it's already there. Catching the bus, three. And yeah, let's animate this thing. So I have to go to my outliner, put this guy back. Okay. So now that I did everything I possibly could before touching the character, I'm going to touch him. That's weird. I'm gonna start animating him. I need to constrain this hat. Well, I'm not gonna constrain, I'm just gonna parent it to the head. Hopefully that works. Oh, is there scale? Oh, interesting. There's no like scaling on the head, whatever. Okay, and I'll put this on reference. I think. Actually, no. Oh. Actually, the hat's gonna have to come off the head. So we're not gonna just parent it by being lazy, we'll do a constraint. Because I'm gonna want to animate the hat, I don't want to directly constrain it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a locator. I'm gonna just use AnimBot. There's this like align button, which will get it in the right place. So now it's like, it's there. I'm just gonna have to show you, but it's on his head. So I actually bring back the outliner. I'm gonna parent. Let's actually name this. I'm gonna parent the hat to the locator. And then we'll constrain the locator to the head. So do this, then select the locator. Oh crap, am I gonna have? Okay, nice. The one downside of getting rid of that tab is you don't have the drop down menu to select the top, but you can just use the F keys to like cycle through. So F3 is animation, so then constraint. We have parent constraint, maintain offset. And now this should work. And then I can still like animate the hat if I need to. And then when we turn off the constraint, we can have them like pick up the hat and stuff. And then when he grabs the hat with his hand, I'll probably just make like a duplicate hat rather than like reconstraining it and stuff. We'll just probably do a cheat. So yeah, not to get too technical. Okay. Cool. So the first thing I do is I set up my master node so that it's facing the right direction. If you guys don't know so first of all, the translate space that I use, if you hold W and click, by default it's world, but I use parent. And what parent is, actually, why did I close the graph editor? I was literally just about to show something in graph editor. What parent is it's actually the representation of like what this actually is in the graph editor. So if I key and I move translate Z, like that's translate Z. If I have this on or like world, then translate Z is different, you know? So I like to have this. It's also, the reason I don't use object is because like if I rotate it, my Z is this, but in the graph editor, it's still that original axis. So by using parent, you always kind of know what it is. And so what parent means is it's based off of what like the chain above it, the direction of the chain above it. So whatever this is rotated to, that's what's controlling the direction of this. So if you set your master control at like a 45-degree angle, then now when I'm trying to animate him going like this, it's gonna be like a combination of, if I just, you hear when I go like some frames later, I just want to move him to the side. I'm getting like a combination of X and Z, which is like a pain in the ass. So don't do that. And just set this up like on a whole number, like 90 degrees. It doesn't have to be a whole number, but in this case, it's gonna be a very simple like exiting this way. So I'm gonna set it like this. And now when I move him like this way, it's gonna be just Z. So save yourself a lot of time and effort and make sure you set that up properly. It doesn't have to be positioned like anything specific, just the rotation, just make sure it's correct. So that's good. And then let's start posing. So usually start broad and then get to the details first. So I'll go for like the general like cog. Get like the line of action. So something in the reference is that my foot is kind of, okay, now I can go rid of the graph editor so you can see this better. And I'll just zoom in a bit. Something in the reference is that my foot is like, it's not like flat on the bench. There's like a curvature to it and it's kind of resting off of it. So I might not take that exactly, but I kind of want to capture that idea. Just like this super relaxed, like off rotation. I don't know, something like this. And then yeah, based on the drawing, instead of like laying this like flat, I'm gonna like pull it out. And then yeah, let's get this pelvis like curved. So my pelvis is laying pretty flat and there's like a curve in my body. So I'm gonna start like working towards that. So I'm gonna do this. And kind of start filling this in. And I don't want to just copy my reference. I want to push that idea. So I want to have at least the amount of curve in my reference, but like ideally more. Does this have, yeah, so this has like a mid-waist control, so I'll kind of try and push that. It's like do this. Then I always like push and pull the character. So like right now this leg's not feeling like long enough for me, so I might just push and pull that knee. We're kind of getting like the pelvis is pointing this way, but the leg's pointing that way. It's feeling a bit weird, so just make some adjustments here. So we're getting more of like a flow. That's good. And, like every little aspect of the character, I'm gonna like turn the toe as well. Same thing here. Maybe this one will just be like, or actually, if we're curving this toe, maybe I'll just do some variety and keep this one straighter. Okay. Is the translate shoulder? Let's see. So I'm gonna translate these shoulders up because we're like resting on the bench. The shoulders are being like pushed up. Oh, this is the shoulder. Okay. Or this. Gonna use this control. Okay, that's better. Oh wait, and I think actually there was a mode that hid the face. I want to do that. Proxy mode. Yeah. Let's focus on not using not that it's a crutch, but just not relying on having the face. Although these deformations are kind of weird. Maybe we'll. Okay, we'll use the character, but I don't know. I'll just use like a default face. I want to rely on the face. Focus just on the body, an aspect of it. Cool. So I'm pulling that drawing I did just to see where we're at. So yeah, there's a lot more flow in the body. This is also like more of a simplified, like I kind of tucked the leg behind here and it's more simplified. So I'm gonna kind of work towards that. So then maybe actually let's take this foot, let's pull it up here. And then what I'm actually gonna do is if this has a scale, which it should. Oh, I think the scale might be on this, which I don't really like, but it's fine. I want foot, hand. Oh, L foot, L leg foot. Okay, weird leg foot. All right, so I'm gonna key. Should actually be on my first frame, so just select everything here, and I'm gonna make a selection set. Call this all. I'm just gonna. There we go. Start my first frame. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna have to key it on this control, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Or scale it on this control. So yeah. So I'm gonna again like I don't want this leg to be the focus. So I'm just gonna start emphasizing this foot more and de-emphasizing this foot. And then is there like a neat control? Yeah, so I'll just get that out of here. Cool. So there we go. It's already looking better. Like I'm trying to emphasize this leg more. So scaling it up, bringing it in front. It's like a cleaner shape. And then, oh, I want my head also in master, so world space. Oh, and I keyed the locator of accident. So it broke the constraint. I'm gonna remove that from the selection set, and then if I just delete the key, it should fix itself. Cool. All right. And then, yeah, I might want to translate these shoulders. Also, like, I'm always translating and like scaling body parts to get pose I want. So in the drawing we did, we kind of covered the head. We had it like in behind. There's gonna be a lot of collisions here, but I'm not really gonna worry about that. The other problem when you start posing out your drawing is that your cheats that you did in drawing don't really work. So yeah, this head thing doesn't work exactly like um sorry, I'm getting confused by this. Is there no this? No, that can't be. Oh, am I in FK mode? Oh, I'm in FK. All right. Okay. So I haven't really used this rig before, so I'm kind of still learning it. Where is our? Oh, probably on this control. Cool. Where? It's probably in here. I hope. Apologies for the technical difficulties. You know. There's all hands, fingers.
Maybe it's in the master sometime.
Yeah, let me check that. No. What am I missing? Is it on the? Sometimes on the top. Oh, this one? There we go. On the plus sign on the shoulder. Oh, that's what I was moving. That was the shoulder control. That was oh no, that's this. Okay, I don't know. This is a weird rig. Anyways, let's do IK here. Probably IK is easier, I guess. Just there's so many contacts. So I think we'll do that. And I'll keep it in. Now I have these new controls that I have to. Where's the other elbow? I'm just going to add these to the selection set and key them. Okay. I think because this elbow is like resting, I'm gonna kind of split space. And then I'm gonna set this to master space. I'm just doing some quick Animbot stuff, but it doesn't really matter, so I'm not gonna explain it. Unless you guys are like really curious, but it's just like copying like world space and stuff. Oh wait. Should be like a pin elbow. Oh, I guess it'd be this. And pin the elbow with this. Now if I move the body, yeah. And now this has to also be in master space. Okay. That's good. And then where's my elbow? There we go. I'm gonna add that as well. Selection set. And then same thing here, because the elbow is like contacting. I'm just gonna set that to master space, so it's just not moving around. Like I basically just don't want when I'm like moving this, I don't want like what's happening with the hand here, where like the hand's moving around. I don't want that happening. So I'm just gonna copy this. Oh, and this either. Okay, copy this. I'm gonna set this to master. And then, so now if I move any body part, like the hands are just gonna kind of stay. And now I'm animating it, and this is all these contacts for like, should have maybe a little regretful of my planning decision. That's okay. It's not gonna be that bad. All right, so let's get this shoulder up. Cool, but now we got these arms in here, it's starting to look like a pose. Okay, and then I just want to see if there's some kind of, yeah. Is this, yeah, sure. Just get some kind of neutral. This. Sure. Some kind of neutral hand pose. I might have to scale the bench because it's much taller. Like this bench here is, yeah, anyways, I'm just gonna scale it down. So we can get a more natural pose. I've never animated with this master controller, but just because we're setting up our like initial pose. I'm just gonna move it. All right. Yeah, this takes a while. Like I really I spend a lot of time on my golden poses because like it's gonna kind of like make or break the shot. So I'm really gonna like set things up properly. Okay. This is starting to come together though. Yeah, so I'll kind of tuck this hand like similar to this is actually kind of worked on the reference, but like I don't want to have this hand like here, like this is starting to get complex, so I'm just gonna kind of hide it. We don't really need to see it. So I'll simplify the shape. And then this hand, I'll just do the same kind of like curl. Thumb. It's intersecting the body, that's fine. That's another thing too. A lot of the time in the hand pose, I'll like hold the thumb. So like if I was to curl it like the other way. Like you don't really need to see this thumb, so I'll just hide it. Like this is like kind of making things look more complicated. So a lot of times you can just hide the thumb. But yeah. And then, yeah, there we go. Get the twist going. I'm just doing a mix of like rotating, translating till it just looks right. Not really afraid to like break the rig. Just want to pose at all costs. Not at all costs, but like, okay. So
Do you usually try to get to the pose to the point where you don't need to touch it later, or you try to?
yeah, I like us to start like I mean, it's not like I'll never touch it, but I don't like to I don't like to leave my first pose until I'm pretty happy with it. Where because then it's gonna be I'm basing my whole shot off that. So I don't want to be like, I'll fix that later. Usually hands, I won't go crazy. Even like the face pose, I'll just do something like general, and then maybe I'll like come back later. But like this foot placement and like, all this arm placement, like these big landmarks, yeah, I want to make sure like that's good. So I'll spend like a lot of time in this place. Like at work, I could easily spend like over an hour, maybe more, like on my first post. I mean, I've already spent like, I don't know, like 20 minutes on this, maybe more, 30 minutes. So you're like, yeah. Oh, and that's like weird. Just fix that. But yeah, and then like again, I don't like how this is, or yeah, so in this drawing, I kind of had the leg going forward, which I kind of like, so maybe I'm just gonna like pull it, I don't like what the rig's giving me, so I think that's a bit nicer of a shape. And I'm even gonna like, again, like this is not the default, but if this is like sticking up too much, I'm just gonna like pull it down. Yeah. And then, yeah, I can pull this arm behind. But yeah, so I think that's like good enough for now. So, and then sometimes what I'll do is like, I'll key it and I'll be like, cool. I'll go to the next frame and then I'll be like, okay, let's push it. Like, how can I push this more? So like, what if we did like a straight, we got like actually, sometimes there's like sub controls, like secondary controls. Let's see. Advanced body controls. Yeah, so like these you can like shape it. So like maybe here, I'm gonna push this up. So now there's like more of a curve. Maybe we can get like a little twist in here. Yeah, maybe this foot will just rest flat on the bench, even though I said I wasn't going to do that, but now I'm just simplifying it. And then, yeah, I'll just start like bending these around a bit. Pushing like the curve a bit. And then, yeah, maybe. If we're like sinking this elbow more, maybe something like maybe it's like the hand, this like part of the wrist that's resting instead of like this just kind of flat. Like one almost looks like fake CG where it's like perfectly straight. So maybe like really like sink this arm. And then same with this, like maybe this elbow can like sink behind the bench. And then that means like the shoulder's gotta like get up over it. Again, there's some collisions, but I'm not really gonna worry about that. And then that means this hand's gonna like sink. So now flipping forward, it's like Okay, I might have complicated it a bit, but like we're getting that like sinking feeling more. So I think I'm not gonna do this arm thing because it's like complicating the shape. So I'll just do this. And then like maybe the head tilt, is there like a more interesting way to like tilt the head? Or maybe like yeah, this is kind of like maybe yeah, I don't know. No, I think we'll push it for cartoonist sake. I wonder if I should even just hide, like again, simplifying. Should I just hide the head? Should we like pull on a full sheet? Like, oh, this is not scaling with the head, the hat. So maybe I'll do that manually. Like, I don't know, does he just look headless or does it actually look like it's behind there? Kind of hard to tell. I think it looks a bit headless. So maybe that's not gonna work. But I don't know, I'll just try stuff like that. So let's scale this back up. Oh, actually, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do freeze transform. No, not freeze. Wait. Not freeze transformation. Freeze transform. Oh, it's because it's oh. Maybe if I unparent, then I do freeze transformation. Okay, I don't know, whatever. Never mind. I was gonna set it so that the scale is like 1. Right now it's like this is the default. If I start scaling the hat, it's not a big deal. But yeah, no, I don't think that scaling thing really worked. It kind of just looked like it didn't have a head. So I'm good with this. I think pulling this over. I think we like mostly captured it. I think this has like a little more like flow. I kind of like this bend in the leg, so maybe I'll just kind of get that in there. But maybe we're like overscaling the leg a bit too much, so maybe I'll just cut back on that. But anyways, we've sold the story of like we simplified the pose, and yeah, we've sold this like story of like this guy's passed out on the bench. So save that. Okay. Yeah, and I like this version better than that. And like sometimes I go like I'll do that and I'll go next frame. I'll do it like 4 times. And then you go back to your first version, you're like, wow, that was not pushed at all. Okay. So again, like it's not about copying my reference, but because I spent all this time planning, I'm going to use it as a tool. So I already figured out my timing. So I'm just going to use that. And I don't even have to think about my timing. I already know like, okay, this is where I want the head to come up. So I'll set a key there. I'm going to flip back and forth, and I'm just going to look at what's changing. It's basically just the head coming up. So let's do that. Pull the head up. And then I don't really want to animate the face. So I'm just going to do like, I'm just going to make him look stupid. Like a dot mouth. Can I scale this item? I don't know. Whatever. I'll just have him like slightly wall-eyed so he can still kind of look at things. Like I don't want to do this because then you won't be able to like look at the hat. But I'll just have him slightly like not looking anywhere in particular, even though he's gonna be looking at the bus and stuff. But yeah, I just don't want to deal with the face. Focus on mechanics. Okay, cool. And then I'll just copy this face stuff over to first frame, even though we won't see it. Okay, so this is the face. And then so his head's gonna come up. No, did I close this thing sketch? Isn't there? So let's. He's gonna wake up. And then I just want the chest to like kind of react to that. So I'll like put the chest forward. And then we can have some like opposing action where the shoulder can't drop too much because it's like being supported, but you can just move it a little bit. Where's my other shoulder? There it is. So I'm just trying to move everything a little bit so it's not feeling too stiff. So like you can see in my reference, like my head's moving, but it's being affected. So I'm just gonna like, we're gonna keep it like cartoony, so it doesn't have to be crazy, but like, I don't know, just like some sort of little shift. Yeah. That looks like it's shrinking, so I don't want to feel that, but yeah, like do the same thing in this arm maybe. Rotation. So I don't just want to translate it as well, because then it's gonna look like a 2D cutout, just like a piece of paper moving. So I just want to give it some dimensionality, just a little bit of rotation. And let's just do a little bit in the legs, take this out, have the pelvis support that. Actually, no, maybe we won't even move the legs. Let's just simplify. This will be enough. Maybe I'll just slightly move this forward. So there's like ever so slight movement, but yeah, let's just keep it. The head is the biggest thing, and then it kind of trickles out throughout the rest of the body. And then like pushing this from like push this idea of like shocked. I don't know, just we want to focus on the head, so I'll just push that like out of the silhouette. Okay, cool. Okay. All right, next pose is going to be this turn. So emotionally, like he hasn't realized that he's missed the bus, so this is more of just like just checking like I was waiting for the bus, right? So I'm gonna check if it's there. In my reference, I'm kind of like just profile, but I want to really like sell that. So I'm gonna push the look like fully behind. You can even get a little bit of tilt. And then let's translate it. Cool. And then maybe like as he checks, he'll like kind of sit up a bit. So just do this. So he's like, his heel, I guess, will stay planted. Oh, should probably control for that. Cool. So his heel is going to stay planted. Oh, I didn't have these secondary controls on the selection set. There's no keys on them. Okay. Let's make sure everything's selected. And then I gotta get rid of this locator, this thing. It doesn't break my constraint. Okay, so I'm gonna add this, just reset all my keys. Okay. Cool, so I have keys on this. So yeah, I want the heel like planted on the ground. Again, like how is he doing this already? Like we start thinking about the mechanics. How is he gonna do this movement? It's gonna be like he's fully on the chair, so he's balanced. So he has to push or pull. So he's gonna be pulling himself up with his arms and pushing with the leg. So this heel can stay on the ground, but you don't want to just have the foot like perfectly stiff like that, and you don't want it moving in the same direction because that looks like he's, and if he was purely using his arms, then his foot would like be pulling in the same direction, but we'll give him a bit of support so he's like pushing. And then just because I've been cheating this leg, I have to like straighten it out because he's pushing. Right, and then we'll just have this leg like react a little bit. And then he's gonna kind of like straighten up a little bit. This, and then let's do the same thing like in the leg. We're gonna like straighten up the curve. All right. So, and then if he's pushing in the arms, like he's gonna do this, like he's gonna push downwards. So we want to bring these shoulders down. And so here, like I'm thinking, like if I move it forward like this, there's this weird like triangle of negative space. It's kind of complicated. So I'm just gonna like keep it over here just to keep it simple. I'll bring these shoulders down. And then cool. So I'm gonna kind of bring the elbows down because he's like propping himself, pushing. And then want the hand to react, a little bit of rotation, maybe too much. Cool, so and then the head, like get that up. It's a little broken in perspective, but it's not too bad. And then in here, so now like I'm also improving on the reference. So here there's like some random arm movements that don't really do anything. And then my head kind of like vaguely looks, but here it's like we're really like, again, we're already kind of thinking about the mechanics. And then also just pushing the pose and like personality wise, you know, if you, it's not like the character's looking over as a mechanic, it's the thought process. He's checking, and so, and he's also kind of still waking up. So to me, that just makes sense to have him kind of just like kind of sitting up like you know what bus, right? I gotta get the bus. What, where is it? Is it over here? That's kind of what he's thinking. Cool. So we already got some, you know, pretty clear like visual stuff going on in here. I just wonder like his neck is kind of broken, but I think it's fine. Oh, and also if he's like turning his head, there's gonna be a little bit of like chest support in that direction. So I'm gonna do that. All right, that's kind of what I was wondering too. It's feeling a little stiff. It's because the head is turning, but the chest is not. So we need that cause and effect throughout the body. So the head turns, the chest is going to have a little bit of rotation. This is a robotic character, so you could probably get away with it, but for most characters we animate, we got to have that connection throughout the body. Cool. So that looks good to me. All right. It's 8:30, but I can keep going for a little longer and then we can pick it up next week. The golden poses are like definitely want to take our time on that, so I don't mind it going a bit into the next class. This stuff's really important. As I'm finishing up, does anyone have any questions? You know, honestly, actually, I think we'll leave it there because now we're getting into this like next complicated part. So I think this is a good place to actually leave off, actually. So I know we have a whole 2-hour class and all we got was this. But you guys can see like I really took my time to like get this curve, you know, looking good and really like nailing the pose. And yeah, now it's gonna set us up for success on the rest. Yeah. I'll stop sharing this for so I can see you guys. Any questions, concerns?
Not for now.
Cool.
Depending on the characters, like do you use a lot of translation, especially on the head? Because for this particular character, you're using a lot of like translation in the head.
Yeah, so I actually switched recently. I used to use the like neck rotate. But then I would find myself like scaling the neck length and like also sometimes translating the head to like push a pose. So then I realized like it's kind of better to just have it all on one control. So if I'm in the graph editor, it's like my translates and rotates, like all of my head stuff is there. And then it also like again doesn't constrain me to the rig. So I'm not really when I'm moving the head, I'm not thinking about this just simple like neck rotation. I'm just like, I want the head here. Like in this design and this emotion, I want it like it really helps if especially if you're going for like some squash and stretch stuff or just like really pushing. Like I was working on the shot I'm working on at work. There's like it's more like she's like pushing something. And so I really like put all the shoulder like the shoulders like super broken, but I really like got the head in and like pulled this up. So and it's like to get that because if I just rotated it forward, the neck would be like sticking out, so the shoulders would be like this. But that's not the feeling I wanted. I wanted this like this feeling. So yeah, I like translating. And then shoulders too, I translate a lot. Like I really want to like sometimes pull them apart and like get like a offset or like yeah, bring them up, bring them down. Like it's just nice. You don't you have to be careful because if you start rotating and translating too much, you might like counter animate and like break it. So sometimes when I get a pose I like, I'll just reset the controls and then just try and go to that pose after I've already kind of discovered what I wanted. But yeah, I especially on like the chest too. Um, I don't like working like FK spine. I want to just like move the chest where I want it and move the hips where I want it. Um, so yeah, I try and translate. And you saw me too, like even with the knees and elbows, like um I'm not I'm not. I mean, this is I guess not typical because I'm doing like a full-on IK elbow where it's like in world space, but yeah, even in FK, like for again for that shot I'm working on, it was like by default the elbows were like this. So I kind of like rotated the elbow so it's like a clean, like simple, like designed like it's not like this weird like my back and then the elbow coming down. It was like the back of her silhouette is this arm. And so by to do that, I kind of like cheated a bit to like pull this elbow out. So yeah, uh I try and not, you know, be defined by the rig, and I'm really trying to just hit um the emotion and the design of it. Yeah. I'm just gonna save this, but anything else before we take off?
It's just small, I guess, because
Yeah,
like
sure.
since you did mention about like moving the translations and like basically shrinking and scaling up body parts. I think I really liked using those, but sometimes you know there's times where like you really need to focus on the character design, like how like long their legs are, how much the head should like you know like believable like proportions. Like how
Yeah.
do you track that? Because since you start moving those things, you have to track those things like around.
Yeah, I mean, I like you do have to track it, but if you think about like a 2D animator, they're they're not constrained. Like they keep that in mind and they try and make it look like the character, but they'll just draw what they want the pose to look like. So kind of think about it that way, like um just whatever, like as long as you're not going overboard and like really messing up the character, like it, in this case too, I'm kind of playing it off like with the legs. I went maybe like a tad too far with it, but it's also like I'm playing it off as perspective. So the leg that's further back is like shorter. Um, so yeah, if you're playing it off too as like, oh, these things are smaller because they're just further away from camera, it can also, even if it's broken in 3D space, like kind of makes sense. Um, and like hands I'll scale up to like are scaled down. Like if they're not a focus and they're kind of at the character side, sometimes I'll scale them down a little bit. If I'm doing something like this and like the hands are like a big part, it sometimes you like you have these default hands where it's like these things and like you really want to like scale them up. Uh so yeah, I mean it's definitely something to keep in mind, but usually if you're scaling it by like 10% or less, which is what I'm doing, it's not gonna break the design. And I always like to think about like what would a 2D animator do? They're not gonna like they don't have a rig. They have like a design sheet that they're gonna follow, but they never have like a ruler out at their desk like okay, it needs to be like 10 centimeters long, this leg. Like no, they're just making sure it generally looks right, but they're gonna hit the pose that they want. Yeah. Cool. All right. So next week we'll have a lecture on block or breakdowns. We don't even have our blocking. So I'll probably finish up the gold poses and then we'll talk about breakdowns. And yeah, we'll start digging into these mechanics more. We didn't do a lot of mechanics this week, technically, but this stuff is just animation in general. It's always going to apply. So I think it's super important. And then yeah, we'll really dig into those mechanics more next week. But yeah, have a good week, guys.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
that's it. All right, see ya.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.